Okay, friends, good morning. Welcome to Joey Only Cariboo Weather Dude YouTube channel. So there was a bizarre event reported yesterday, a bear attack in Bella Coola, in which a number of people were hurt. And this is a record-setting attack. Nothing like this has ever exactly happened. And moments like this makes folks like myself stop because, we're people who give you a lot of bear advice. And it's like, man, all the best advice we give you wouldn't make much difference in a unlikely scenario like this. Now, of course, it's an extremely rare scenario. It's extremely unlikely for a bear to attack a large group of people like that. But even this sense that you usually have that, hey, if we just stick in groups, we'll be okay, burst the bubble. Meanwhile, people in Bella Coola are telling me that the way that people have lived beside the bears and been very tolerant of them has changed overnight. There's a different attitude in Bella Coola this morning. So I talked to a number of friends. I talked to even some paramedics there. Unofficially, of course, I'm not sharing quotes or their details. But I just wanted to get a picture painted on what is going on, like what exactly happened. And one of my friends told me, and this is serious, he's, and I grew up with this guy, okay? I've known him 30 years. He says to me, they're really bad this year. The bears are really bad here this year. And I'm like, you're saying that? Like, you're kind of an environmentally green guy. You're pretty progressive forward. He's not the kind of guy I expect to say hey, the bears are out of control here. But then he tells me that he friggin' shot one in his own house 2 months ago. He shot a grizzly bear while in his underwear in his house 2 months ago. Holy shit, I said. That's wild, dude. Okay, well, there's a bear problem, but there's more going on here than that. We're going to try to get through some of the details and try to figure out what's going on today, although, we don't know that much because the conservation officers are doing their investigation today. We'll find out as we find out, but I needed a bit of a picture painted as to what happened here. And there was a hero in this story. There was a guy who was a teaching assistant, possibly a teacher. I'm getting some conflicting reports there. Possibly just a teacher's assistant, whatever. He basically challenged the bear and took the brunt of the violence and ended up in hospital quite seriously. Many of them sent to Williams Lake. So let's talk about this story. Hit like, share, subscribe. Joey Only, the Cariboo Weather Dude, up here in the mountains of Wells, BC, where we have grizzly bears and we see them, and nothing like this has ever happened. In fact, people here in Wells tend to just, we don't have quite the same grizzly population they have down in Bella Coola. No, we don't see them very often. In fact, since they've been logging hardcore back here in the fires, we don't see them hardly at all, and I'm concerned about the grizzly population. Some areas are short on grizzlies, and some areas have maybe a few too many. Maybe that's the case with Bella Coola. I don't know. I'm not here to give an opinion on what should be done. Just here to talk about the story and how mind-blown I am. Okay, let's get on with the show. Let's go. There it is. This is bad news. My God.
Falling out right now.
Anything could happen.
Get on!
Wow. I'll watch the video later.
Water.
Ain't try mopping this. So what we're talking about today is a grizzly bear attack that happened yesterday on an elementary school group that was walking a trail near the Aquasalta School in Bella Coola, BC. That's Thursday, November 20th, 2025. There's 11 people that were attacked. 2 are in critical condition. 2 were seriously injured. 7 have minor injuries. These are students and teachers from Aquasalta School. The bear status is at large right now and aggressive. Authorities are tracking the bear. New Halt Nation is issuing stay indoors warnings. That's what's going on today. So here's the story. A grizzly bear attacked an elementary school group near Bella Coola on Thursday, November 20th, like I just said, injuring 11 people. As of Friday, November 21st, the bear remains at large and authorities have urged residents to stay indoors. The attack took place in the afternoon yesterday with BC Emergency Health Services receiving the initial call just before 2 p.m. A group from the local Aquasalta School was walking on a trail in the 4-mile subdivision when they encountered the aggressive grizzly. It's not known if the bear is defending a kill. It's not known if it's a female or male bear at this time. We don't know if there's cubs nearby. We don't know why this bear did this. And that's why we can't jump to conclusions yet on what should be done because we don't actually know the circumstances. It really could just be that this bear was trying to defend something. Whatever the case is, I don't think people in Bella Coola have much of a sense of humor about this topic this morning. So 2 are critically injured and require hospitalization. 2 others suffered serious injuries. 7 were treated at the scene and cared for by the paramedics. According to BCEHS, weather conditions in the remote Central Coast community were poor, prompting them to request air transportation assistance from the Joint Rescue Coordination Center. An airlift was dispatched, but it was forced to stand down due to inclement weather. Okay, so I don't know if that's clear to you. That was a Cormorant helicopter from 442 Squadron. It couldn't even make it into the scene. They had to turn around and go back. So that's due to the atmospheric river conditions off the coast, making things cloudy, rainy, windy. So, okay, there was some heroic actions, and there's some eyewitness accounts about all this. During the event, teachers rushed to protect the students. A parent named Veronica Schooner told the Canadian Press that a male teacher got the brunt of it while fending off the animal. Some of the children were reportedly hit with bear spray as adults fought to repel the bear. Schooner's 10-year-old son, Alvarez, a 4th or 5th grader, was on the walk and was so close to the bear he felt its fur as it ran by, following another person. Alvarez was traumatized by the attack, and after running for safety, he was left with muddy shoes and a limp from the fall. The New Halt Nation used social media to alert the community and warn residents to remain indoors and off the highway. They confirmed the bear was still on the loose and aggressive, specifically cautioning people not to go looking for it. In a post, they announced that armed officers were tracking the animal. The nation also organized a free community bus service for residents in the evening to provide safe travel between Townsite and 4 Mile. Support and counseling was made available to community members. Meanwhile, at Aquasalta School, the school was closed Friday, November 21st, and announced that counseling and traditional support services like brushing, smudging would be available for students and staff. BC Conservation Officer Service deployed officers to the scene along with the RCMP. They issued a public safety alert telling residents to stay out of the forested area and the river areas near the 4 Mile subdivision until further notice. RCMP also responded and were working with conservation officers. So, the remote community of Bella Coola, which is about 700 kilometers northwest of Vancouver, is accustomed to living near wildlife, but the attack on school children has left the area on edge. The incident highlights the risk of human-wildlife encounters in rural areas of British Columbia, which is home to an estimated 15,000 grizzly bears. Quote some of the conversation I had with my friend in Bella Coola this morning, for example. He says, a couple quotes, "It came apparently out of nowhere and just started fucking people up. The class was out walking in the woods. Protecting a carcass, I asked. He said, it's been speculated. I think that's something the COs will be able to determine. I think this is a first in recorded Canadian history. I've never heard of a bear attacking a large group like that. You know, and it may be a long time before that happens ever again too, folks. Like, just because it has happened doesn't mean it's like the new behavior. Bears are going to start attacking groups. But it also tells us something. It tells us that we have to be aware now when traveling in groups that it doesn't guarantee your safety. It doesn't guarantee. So here's what he says there. I killed one that got into my house. The bears were bad this year. I shot a fucking grizzly bear in my house. I wrote, what the fuck? Seriously? About 2 months ago. How did you not tell me? And he said, some other people's had broken some had broken into other people's houses too. I killed a 2-year-old cub. The mom is probably out there still doing fine. I try not to tell anyone. The politics around killing bears is weird. And I was like, yeah, but it comes into your house, dude. You shoot it. I bragged to the whole world. You don't come in my house, I'll shoot you. I don't care if you're a bear, if you're a human. He says I'm going to buy a heavier load at some point, though. I was like, dude. I asked him when his coffee break was. He said he was too busy because of work today, but we'll try to get a phone call in tonight. But yeah, I love his quote here. It was pretty cut and dry. I felt strangely indifferent in some ways, defending my kids. I did what I had to do. Glad I was still awake that night. Killing a bear in your ginch is an odd experience. Smell of hot blood filling the house was strange. I'm like, oh man, that is nuts. He says, I'm usually pretty tolerant, especially if I fuck up and leave attractants accidentally. But in the house, the mom was outside huffing for an hour. I have a video from before the shooting that my security cam caught. He's going to try to find it for me tonight. But he says they were very bad this year. There were large fires in the Chilcotin that likely pushed more down here. That and the trophy hunt's been closed, and politically it's been unkind to those who kill bears. So that's the thing too. Is like I've already see there's some people who are like, open the trophy hunt, you know, and other people are like automatically like, no trophy hunt. You know, it's like it's instantly we're like caught into a dichotomy of hunt or not hunt, and I think that's unfortunately the wrong way of looking at it. Are there some areas where culling a few bears occasionally might not be a crazy idea? Okay, I could consent to that. That's the thing. If you don't call it a trophy hunt, someone like me is going to be like, well, yeah, maybe there's a few too many bears in Bella Coola. Maybe taking 5 of them out wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Whereas here in Wells, I've seen a reduction in our bear population. I'm talking to the biology researcher down in Likely who says they don't see them anymore since the logging's happened back here. We have a situation where you just open the bear hunt. So there needs to be some thought put into if there's going to be calls like that or a hunt. I think we should not call it the trophy hunt. I think the optics of that are bad. No one is going to appreciate that. When you call it a trophy hunt, people are going to hate it. They're going to hate the idea of it. They're going to push back against it. I don't know what kind of words you put in its place. I'm not here to have some linguistic discussion, but I mean, this is a bizarre story. This is really bizarre. And I find it difficult because, like I say, it really takes all the best advice that a lot of us have given to you over the years and makes it seem moot, makes it seem questionable. And I would suggest, still, when you get taught a bear aware class, a bear aware course, that you still take the advice literally. This is one instance. It's a bizarre incident, and we don't know exactly what caused this incident. So let's stick with our basic understandings of how we expect bears to behave and whatnot. But still, one thing that's clear to me is that the fall is a bad time to run into bears. It's a bad time. You probably could have ran into that same bear in July when he was sitting down by the river eating fine, and he was probably fine, right? You get into this time of year, everyone's got to be aware that when you're in the late season, just before hibernation, is when these animals are going to be the grumpiest and, behave in the most mentally ill manner, such as one that attacks 11 people. Another thing, though, one of the pieces of advice that I've often given is when it's clear an attack is going on, you have to fight. You have to try to fight. You can't just give up at that. People say, well, play dead. No way, man. I'm not playing dead. Not until I taking a beating and I can't fight anymore. Anyways, it's just a terrible situation altogether. My heart goes out to everybody in Bella Coola. My heart goes out to the school. My heart goes out to the students. My heart goes out to the New Halt Nation. We're thinking about you today. Our hearts are with you. We're sad to hear this news. We're sorry this happened. We hope it doesn't happen again. We hope some solutions can come up to maybe prevent this in the future. Hope that some lessons can be learned. Hope that, we can find ways to further manage our human-bear interactions in a place like Bella Coola without having to totally throw out the model of living in peace and cooperation. That's largely worked for a long time in Bella Coola. I mean, can you imagine you have a place where there's just hundreds of bears hanging around one valley, and it's taken this long for something to happen? Put that into perspective, right? I was in Bella Coola. There was grizzly bears every direction. They're on the road. They're behind the cabins. They're in the river down the way. They're kind of like the raccoon of Bella Coola. They're everywhere. So it's not like suddenly the bears are unreliably violent. We got one. I hope we find out what happened, why. Hope we get some answers. Hope some answers can come today, and we can try to make some sense out of what's clearly a really fucked up thing that happened. Okay, everybody, hit like, share, subscribe. We'll be talking to you about this one more, I hope. Okay, bye for now.